Yo, what's good, guys? It's Austin here, or Luna. So today's story time is a pretty scary one, pretty spooky one that I thought I told a long time ago, but like a lot of my videos, I guess I didn't, and here I am telling it today. But today's story time, yeah, definitely a serious one, definitely a break from all the funny stuff I've been talking about. I hope you guys enjoy this. Leave a like on the video if you do, and let's get into today's story time. So today's story time all takes place as a regular day when I was none other than 19 years old. Now, 19 years old was also the same time I was living in LA, just like last story time that I told yesterday. And at this point, I was getting pretty sick of LA, I can't lie. I was getting pretty sick of my apartment. I was getting pretty sick of the people there. Just everything about the city was really starting to bother me. And I was getting ready to move back to New York for a little bit. But right before I was about to move out here again to New York, I met this girl, okay, at a party. And I'm not going to go into too much detail about her, but I will say this. She was a YouTuber slash streamer, just like me. She didn't have millions of followers or anything, but she still had a lot of followers. I think at the time she had like a combined 100,000 or 150,000 or something. So she had a lot of fans. Now, because she was an attractive, girl streamer, that also came with a lot of weirdos. There was a lot of like stalker-ish type guys, a lot of very odd people, and the most annoying part about this whole situation is she didn't do anything to deserve that. Like, she was very, to herself, kept her privacy, didn't even use face cam half the time. But for some reason, there was always just that one weirdo that would find something out about her, like personal information, and try and stalk her and use it against her. And yeah, just weirdos. And there was this one guy, like the main stalker, she would call him. He would not leave her alone. He would find her phone numbers. He would text her all hours of the night. He showed up to her house one time when she was living in her hometown before she moved to LA. So, this dude was a legit, grade A stalker. Just weirdo. So, yeah, when I started hanging out with her and I met her, she kind of had to warn me about that. She was like, just so you know, I have this guy. He's a stalker. I've tried blocking him on everything. I've called the police. I've tried almost everything, and he just keeps coming back. So, be aware of that. And I was like, that's fine. And me and her kind of got closer and closer throughout the weeks of knowing each other. And eventually I would say we were dating. We didn't say boyfriend and girlfriend, but we were going on dates, sleeping over at each other's houses, hanging out very, very often and doing what you do as a girlfriend and a boyfriend. I'd say we were like an unofficial girlfriend and boyfriend, right? And that was fine by me. I wasn't trying to jump into anything super serious. I don't think she was either, because we both had pretty complicated lives at the time. But she had this idea right before I was about to go back to New York to rent an Airbnb together. She wanted to get an Airbnb for a whole week together. That way we could stop bouncing around at each other's houses. We could just have our own little place for a whole week. And we found this really nice small house up in the hills. It was beautiful, gorgeous house. Pretty cheap, actually, too, for how nice it looked. And we booked it. We booked it for a whole week. Just us. No friends allowed. It was just going to be me and her hanging out for a whole week. And I was extremely excited because I really liked this girl. She seemed to really like me. We got along well, and it was a nice-ass place that we get to hang out in the whole week. I was looking forward to just a nice, peaceful break from all the chaos that LA had to offer. So fast forward to us getting to the Airbnb and checking in. We got there. First day was completely normal. Just checked in, relaxed, watched some Netflix, kicked it, sat in the hot tub for a bit outside. Really just a nice, normal first night. Nothing out of the ordinary at all. But on the first night, she took out her phone and she took a Snapchat of the view. And I even said something about it. I was like, hey, are you sure you should do that? You got some weirdos that, kind of stalk you. Are you sure you're not giving up, your location? She's like, oh, no, it's nighttime. They won't be able to see. It's very blurry. It's just some lights. Completely fine. And she showed me the photo, and she was right. It was a very blurry photo of the skyline of LA, just the lights. The hills and stuff were all pitch black. You really couldn't tell where she was from this photo. So, honestly, I didn't really have any second thoughts about it, and I didn't tell her not to post it. So she posted it. The rest of that night was very normal. Fast forward to the next day. This is where the story time really kicks off, okay? We had a nice breakfast. We made breakfast at the house, hung out there for a while, just relaxed. And then we went out for about 2 hours to go to a friend's house and hang out with him for a little bit. Now, after hanging out at his house, we didn't really have any plans after that, didn't really have anything we wanted to do, so me and her both decided to go back to our Airbnb and hang out there for the rest of the night and just relax. So yeah, that's what we decided to do. We got an Uber from our friend's house back to our Airbnb together, and when the Uber pulled up to our Airbnb, we immediately noticed something was very wrong. First things first, there was a car in the driveway. Not our car, not anybody I know's car, just a random person's car in the front driveway of the house we were renting, and we didn't know who it was. Now, immediately, I'm like, is that someone you know's car? And she was like, no, like, I have no idea. Do you know who that is? I'm like, no. And the Uber driver ends the ride, and at this point, we're supposed to get out of the car. So I start to open the door, and the Uber driver's like, hey, man, like, if you guys don't know who that is, you can stay in the car and, like, wait a second until we figure this out. I was like, thank you, man, I appreciate that. So I closed the door, we stayed in the Uber, and immediately I called up the owner of the Airbnb, like, the guy that rented me the house, and I was like, hey, do you know if, like, anyone's here cleaning the house or something right now? Because there's a random car in the driveway, doesn't belong to us. Just wondering if you know who it is. And the owner's like, what? No. Like, cleaners don't come until you guys are gone. And I was like, okay, do you have any friends or anything that might stop by? He's like, no, absolutely not. Like, that's got to be someone that you know. And I was like, well, it's not. There's some random person here. And he's like, okay, are you inside? And I was like, no, we're in an Uber outside. He goes, okay, well, hang tight. I'm coming there right now. I live down the street. I'm like, all right, sounds good. So I hang up the phone with him. Now we're just waiting for the Airbnb owner to pull up. The Uber driver's just kind of talking to us, just like asking us questions about like what we do and like if we live here or not. And, just standard small talk, right? And eventually the owner of the Airbnb pulls up about 10 minutes later, pretty quick, gets out of his car. He slowly starts approaching the house, the front door. And as soon as he gets up to the front door, his face changes from like curiosity to fear. And I watched this guy bend down with the scariest look on his face, just like scared, and he picks up some pieces of the front door and he holds them up to us in the Uber, basically meaning like, yo, somebody broke in, because the door was broken and I guess it was off the hinge a little bit. And also, after he showed us this broken piece of the door, he was able to swing the door right open. Didn't have to use his keys, didn't have to use our keys, and we locked it. So yeah, this essentially confirmed that somebody broke in. And now we start getting really scared because we know that somebody broke in the house and is in the house. And I wave to the owner to come back to the car. And he does, because I did not want him going in that house and approaching whoever was in there, whatever psycho broke in. So he comes back to the car. The girl that I'm with is already dialing 911. And probably about 15 minutes later, the cops show up. Keep in mind, the entire time, that whole 15 minutes we were waiting and just like fear and wondering if the guy was going to come out, he didn't come out. He was still in that house, just chilling in there. And fast forward, the police arrive, they enter the home, and not even 2 minutes later, they come out of the house with the guy in handcuffs. And I've never seen this guy in my life. He looks to be about in his 30s. He didn't look very clean. He definitely looked a little bit dirty, like not well kept. Pretty skinny guy. And he looks extremely angry. And his eyes lock on to our Uber. And he doesn't look at me, he doesn't look at the driver, he looks right at the girl with like a death stare. And I look behind me at her, and there are tears in her eyes. And I'm like, are you okay? Like, are you all right? Like, he's getting arrested, it's all right, he can't get you. And she was like, no, you don't understand, like, I know him. And I was like, what do you mean? And then it all hit me at once. I'm like, holy shit, is that who I think it is? She goes, yup, that's him. And I guess that was like the main stalker guy, the same guy that like showed up at her house back in the day and has like been stalking her on social media for years. And she was crying because she was scared, but also she was really happy that he got arrested. Those were essentially her exact words. She was like, these are like happy, sad tears because I'm glad he got arrested, but I'm also, scared that he came out here all this way to bother me, and who knows what he would have done. Well, anyway, after the cops arrested him, we talked to them for a bit, kind of gave our side of the story. She talked way more to them than I did. And the guy went to jail. He got arrested. I'm not sure of the exact charges, but if I had to guess, it was probably, breaking and entering and probably vandalism because a couple of her things were broken inside from him. And the weirdest thing about this is when the cops questioned him as to, like, why he was there and what he was doing there, I guess he just kept telling them he was there to hang out with us. And that, like, he was a big fan of her. And it was just really creepy. Like, he didn't have intentions of robbing. He was just so obsessed with this girl, he had to see her face to face. Oh, and also while he was talking to the cops, they asked him, how he got that address and how he found out where she was. And apparently, this fucking weirdo looked at her Snapchat, located which mountain it was on based on the view of the city. And then he went on Airbnb and looked for matches of the same hot tub. Because I guess in the Snapchat, she showed the brand of hot tub on accident. Like, it was just at the very bottom corner. You could see, like, the logo of the hot tub. And he went on Airbnb and found any Airbnbs that had that hot tub. And I guess there was only like a couple. And yeah, he found ours, which is insane. That's like some like next level like stalker shit. And yeah, to this day, I don't know what he would have done if we walked in that house, without the cops there and just like blindly walked in and saw him. Like, who knows? If I had to guess, he probably would have hurt me and her, and that's terrifying to think about. So yeah, guys, in the end, that guy went to jail. Me and her actually both moved out of LA at the same time, about a month later, maybe 2 months. I'm not going to say where she moved, just in case that weirdo is still around, who knows, like lurking on our channels or something, but she moved far away, and so did I. So, moral of the story is, guys, always lock your doors, don't engage with weirdos on the internet, and if you can afford them, get some security cameras. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this story time. Definitely a crazy one, definitely a scary one. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below, and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you guys all later. Peace.